Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Broken Beautiful Me Stories of Hope, Gratitude, and Resilience. I am so fortunate today to have a wonderful guest, Dr. Diana Londoño. She is a board certified urologist and one of the 10% of urologists in the United States who are women. Originally from Mexico City, she received all of her education in the Los Angeles area, going to Fairmount Clinic College for her undergraduate studies, and then attending UCLA for her medical school training. She finished 6-year residency in urology at Kaiser Permanente in Los Angeles. She has experienced burnout twice, which led her to write and speak about it to raise awareness to help others. She has published multiple articles in MedState, Doximity, Heaven MD, at Men's Health, Giddy.com, MedMike.com, and others. She is also a contributing author to books Thriving After Burnout and Medic and SOS. Her burnout journey led her to become a certified life coach and founder of the Physician Coach Support.com. This free and confidential one-to-one peer support platform for physicians, led by certified physician life coaches, is available 7 days a week via Zoom. In 2022, she received the Los Angeles County Medical Association Physician Leadership Award for her work. She is an international speaker and guest on multiple podcasts discussing wellness, boundaries, ego, humanity in medicine, mindset, and mindfulness. She has also been featured on TV on Univision, Telemundo, Mundo Fox, CNN Latino, KCET, and ABC News as a health consultant discussing urological topics. She is also a Reiki master, a chronic healing student, and the mother of two determined and joyful 6 to 8 year olds, Daniela, and two girls, Daniela and Pauline. And welcome, Diana, to the show. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for such a kind, warm intro. I really are just feel blessed and honored to be here and really excited to dive into a great conversation today that could hopefully help others in any way. Because I think some of the things we kind of even mentioned in the intro, though we're talking about physicians, I mean, burnout and stress and all these things really affect all of us. I mean, it's a pandemic of stress, it's a pandemic of burnout, no matter where you are. And a lot of these topics can really help no matter who you are to really live a better life, a joyful life in the ups and downs, because we're going to have all of it. It's not just rainbows and butterflies. We have pain and pleasure in everything we do. And I think that that'll be a great sort of segue to start, this conversation.
Awesome. I just need to start before we jump into the questions and say, I'm just so impressed. You have two 6 and 8 year old girls, and you are still doing all that wonderful work to help others. Wow. What time do you get up in the morning?
I get up early. I'm usually up probably around 5 or so, it depends, but I also take a lot of naps, and I also have a wonderful husband who actually changed from being private equity, that was his first-time job, to being full-time dad, and he's an amazing dad, so I really can't take all the credit, say it's all me. It really is a great team, and my husband is an amazing father and husband and partner, so it's not just, "Oh, I do everything." It really has a lot of support. So you can't do it all alone. People think, "Oh, I just do it all alone and I don't sleep." No, I take, like I said, multiple naps. I take care of myself. I schedule time to center, to be quiet, to focus, and really take care of me because I have to take care of a lot of people. Yes, my children. Yes, my husband. Yes, my patients, like everybody. So I had to find that time for myself to take care of me and to ground myself and center and really be quiet and really be calm, because sometimes it's chaos. There's chaos outside all the time. So when my children are screaming, and when patients are angry or things are happening and things don't work out, how do you find a way to be calm and centered? What is much easier to yell back or get agitated or, roll your eyes. I mean, that's really easy. It's much faster, but it takes a lot of time and work to be able to be calm during those times.
Yes. It reminds me of, and I'm not sure if you know the book, Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and he talks about sharpening the saw, and basically the concept is you have to take care of yourself before you can then extend that care to other people. I always love the quote, "You can't pour from an empty cup."
Absolutely.
And yeah, so you really have to do make that effort. So for our listeners who may not know your work, can you briefly share just a little bit beyond your bio about your background and then the path that led you to the work that you're doing today?
For urology or for wellness or for all of it? Because there's a lot of things going on, but I mean, is there one that is more helpful for your audience?
Well, I think probably, from a wellness perspective, you're working in the medical community in a high stress job. And so how did you realize that you wanted to do this work about wellness and caring for the caregiver?
Yeah. So it's like I said, burnout is real. I use the numbers for physicians just to get a little bit of perspective. It's about 65% of all physicians are burned out. And burnout means you're in chronic unmanaged stress, then leading to a lot of physical, emotional, spiritual, psychological changes. So then many are going to have anxiety, 25%. 13% have suicidal ideations, and more than 4 to 500 physicians every single year die by suicide. So these numbers are really staggering. We take care of thousands of patients, and the fact of us not being here because we die by suicide, it really is great. Plus the impact of the family, and not just after that happens, but just leading up to it, how disconnected we are with our families, with our patients, and the fact that when we're in burnout, medical errors are going to happen and they do happen. It's not like some theoretical thing, it's real. And when we are patients, because we're all patients, and I just finished this really long bout of a severe uterine infection. And I can see real firsthand, and I knew it before it happened as a patient, how broken the system is. And the system means not just the insurance plan and not just the medical record system we have to use, and not just this and that. It really is the people make up the system. And the people is us and the nurses and the techs. And when we're in burnout, there's no way we can give good care. There's no way we can be compassionate and caring. And when you're sick, it's really important to, like kindness goes such a long way. Little words matter. I mean, thing you say, patients remember that. I have patients that tell me what a doctor said 20 years ago, and they still remember verbatim what was said. And many times it misses the mark. It wasn't something uplifting, and sometimes it was very damaging how things were said to them. So words matter. How we say it matters. Our body language matters when we say this. So if you're in stress state, like fight or flight, there's not a lot of room for that compassion. There's not a lot of room for that kindness and that curiosity. There just really isn't, because stress and curiosity, they don't exist in the same place. So for me personally was going through burnout, and you can get there many ways. Of course, stress, but fear is a great way to get there. You're activating the same sort of neurotransmitters in your body. The same hormones are getting released of stress, fight or flight. So whether again it's fear or stress or worry, you're going to get to the same place. And for me, it was a lot of worry and fear and stress from COVID. I mean, I wasn't even front lines, but I really went overdrive on it, and I absorbed everybody's fear that wasn't even mine. So then it got compounded. It was triggered by, childhood traumas, or, we have to heal. And I felt I wasn't being listened to, which is a childhood trauma. So again, we have to realize all the traumas we carry and how that impacts us today if we don't heal that. And so I just went to chronic stress. Chronic stress manifested for me, and it does for many people, because 90% of all doctor visits are stress related, actually. So with your back pain and your migraines, your high blood pressure and your sugar out of control is usually worsened by or started by stress. So we have to understand that this is a huge underlying cause. But for me, I had hair loss. I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I started grinding my teeth, that I destroyed my teeth. I got an abscess in my tooth from grinding. Had to have a root canal. I had chest pain, debilitating chest pain. And I'm very healthy and I'm a runner, but I could not walk across the room. It was so much chest pain. That I had asthma at 42 years old. I developed asthma. Asthma is an inflammatory response in in bronchs, in your air ducts. So how do you develop asthma at 42? Nobody can tell me, but I'll tell you how. It's chronic stress that is just bathing every cell of your body. And then I had everything, I can go through every system. And I even had my joints were hurting, my fingers, which is a problem if I'm a surgeon. And
Right.
so my rheumatoid factor, which is an autoimmune marker, was elevated. So why am I getting autoimmune? How is my body now literally attacking itself? And that's what happens when you're chronic stress. Your body is attacking itself with the chronic stress. So it will manifest in a lot of pain and back pain and this pain. And these are actually signals from, your higher soul, your higher good, trying to tell you, like, pay attention, listen to your body. Don't be disconnected from your body because something is happening that you have to pay attention. And there's no better place and way to pay attention to something than when you have pain. Because when you have pain, you will pay attention most of the time. But then we ignore it, we ignore it, we ignore it until it just blows up and it really becomes like a crash course. So hopefully people don't get to the place where, you crash and burn, but you may have to. You really may have to. And it's important to understand that whatever we put our attention to, that's what's going to follow. So if we're putting attention to news that is inflammatory, things that you're reading that are divisive, people you listen to that are promoting hate and anger and division, you're going to feel that inside and you're going to get worse with that. But if you pay attention to things that are uplifting or music or news or books or podcasts that really can help you, just feel a different way, your life is going to be very different because sort of coaching 101, which we'll talk about in a second, but like the circumstance, whatever happens in your life, we have a choice. We really do. And then we have a thought about that circumstance, whatever it is, whatever happened to us. And then that's going to lead you to a feeling. So your thought about that circumstance will give you a feeling, and that feeling is going to drive your action. So we have to pay attention to our thoughts and what is, getting consumed and what we are recycling in our heads all the time and those thoughts, because that's going to give you a very different feeling and a very different action and result. So it's about mindfulness. It's about awareness. It's about like slowing down to realize, like, what am I thinking, consuming, talking to, who's in my circle. These are really important things we have to talk about. Like, who is in your circle? Because that's going to become you. So these are things I sort of learned. And then I just kind of really got into it because I need to figure out what was going on with me because I didn't learn that in med school. It was not UCLA curriculum. And I tried to understand it. And I wanted to then help others.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think, I'm just listening to you speak about your personal experience. And I worked in healthcare for a number of years in management. And, I remember on my fourth root canal saying, "Healing, what am I doing here? Like, what's going on?" And it was stress. It was completely stress. There were so many things that, like, autoimmune that I experienced as well, and it was completely related to the stress that I was under.
Absolutely.
And once you make those lifestyle changes, it's truly a lifelong commitment, right? You can't just say, "Okay, I'm gonna do this until I get better." This has to be your life. It has to be commitment forever.
Yeah, it's work and it's a lifestyle change. It's not just a 6-week program and you go back to your old self. It's really changing every day what you do. And it's work. It's
Yeah.
work to change all those habits. It's work to stay grounded. It's work to really change what you want to do. But it's really important. And the thing is, as you said, these manifestations you're having from stress, I mean, they actually go away. You will heal, without any medications and things if you change that. I mean, I didn't change anything else. I didn't change my job. I didn't change my husband, my kids. And all those symptoms have gone away. Every single one. I have nothing. I don't have asthma anymore. I don't have chest pain. I sleep like a baby. My hair is fine. All these things will go away because we also have the innate power in our own bodies to heal. Yes, physicians and surgeons like myself, we can help. We definitely need medications at times. We definitely need surgery. I mean, I'm not anti any of that, of course, but we have the innate power. Like even when I do surgery on you, your body has to heal. I will cut it and sew it up, but your body is doing the work. So your body has that ability to do so. And when we are in a different mindset of gratitude, of love, instead of like anger and fear, you're actually going to heal much faster.
Mhm.
Very important what your mindset is during illness and during recovery because you're in a toxic, environment, you're not going to heal as well and it's just going to go down the drain even more. So all that is very important.
So For someone who hasn't experienced burnout, so you talked about kind of those physical manifestations that you face, but for someone who hasn't experienced burnout before, um, if you can just kind of, when did you kind of reach that wall where you're like, okay, I've got to change something? But people don't really understand what it's like to be in that position. Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of find it fascinating that people haven't because it's so common. But we may not get to that whole full blown point, but there's a lot of signs before that
Yeah.
where you're angry all the time, you're reactive. That is like a first step of your burnout. It's sort of like a little curve, and then you get to the top, and then you crash and burn. But on the way up there, you're always kind of angry and reactive because
Hmm.
that's fight or flight. I mean, you're fighting literally with people, or you're like fleeing away. And then you're cynical. Everything's cynical. You can't see the good in everything. You're just, just saying something about somebody or somebody you're criticizing. You start sort of seeing people kind of not as people, but as objects, or as, for us as physicians, as diagnoses. So you start doing something called depersonalization. So you really don't see that person anymore. So
Yeah.
these are sort of, again, you lose the play, the curiosity, the ability to just be joyful. So you don't have to get all the way up there, but many people are at the very beginning stages. I don't see people honestly, being like all calm and like, uplifting and joyful. And you can see that on social media. Like, what do you see? You see people, just jumping on the train of cynicism and of anger and division. I mean, that's not a good place. That's actually not our true nature. We think it is because we're all bathed in stress. But our true nature is really like the I am, which is like love and joy and peace. But we don't see that a lot. Actually, as we see the opposite. And so again, we may not be all the way up there, but I see a lot of people in the past. They're cutting you off and they're flipping you off and they're yelling at you for like minor things. I mean, that is a stress state that will go to burnout pretty quickly.
And you're so right about kind of what we allow in our lives, right? In terms of, the news and I mean, of course, we have to be aware of what's happening around us, but this 24/7 news cycle has really, I think, done a number on us. Because everything is breaking news, and that just immediately you get that stress response, right? Um, and then the consumption of social media. Um, is it and I'm on social media and we're connecting because of technology right now, but um having the ability to step away from that and go and put your feet on the ground outside and be in nature or it's realizing that it's not every right. So yes, we're gonna be exposed to some of it at some point. This is the world we live in, but that we also have to set those personal boundaries of protection to protect our feet.
Absolutely. And, social media or technology or AI or money, these are tools and we can use both for good and for bad. I mean, money can be amazing. You can build like a nonprofit and churches and feed people and house people, or you can do sex trafficking with it and you can do really awful things with money. So it's
Yeah.
just a tool. And so is social media. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of like the terrible things in social media, or also see all the amazing connections we can make, connect with people that are in your frequency of what you want to do and help people. And so it can be good as well. And again, it's all going back to it can be good or bad. And, we decide we have a choice and we have boundaries we have to place on things. And,
Mhm.
we have a choice. And again, life is pleasure and pain. And, I see that especially in urology, but in anything we do. Even a wedding can be so joyful, but so painful at the same time. We're so joyful, we're gonna join in marriage with your partner, but you have a sadness of maybe leaving, your life as it was. And it's the same thing. You give birth and it's so joyful, but it's so painful too, literally, physically, everything. So
Right.
death of a family member. I mean, it's joy because and there's pain. I mean, there's joy because maybe they're not suffering and there's a relief, but there's also so much pain of missing them and remembering them. So everything we do, has both. And we have to realize it's both because we've sort of been fed that life is just all joy. And how can we have pain? And why is there sadness? And, these are human emotions. when we realize we have a whole rainbow of them, and then it's not just happy all day, we can just fully relax a little more, embrace it, enjoy it, realize we have this multi-dimension of us. And that's what makes us human. That's what makes us not be a rock or a robot. And that is beautiful. It's beautiful to embrace our feelings and our humanity.
So, physiciansupport.com. I want to jump into this right now because this is such a beautiful creation. Can you tell me with what prompted you for the creation of the peer support platform, and tell me kind of what happens on that platform because I'm so curious about it.
Yeah, thank you. So it really went through my own journey of burnout, trying to figure out how do I get out of this? What is this? Learning about it. And one of the first things was learning about coaching. And I didn't know what coaching was. Started to learn about it. I decided, oh well, maybe instead of getting coach, I can become a coach because I can learn those skills and you can never take away education. So if I learn it, well, that's great. So I decided to become a coach. And when you do that training, part of the training is you have to coach other people. As part of the hours you have to log to make sure you're proficient in this. And then I
Mhm.
thought, oh, well, like if we are like helping people and our physician colleagues need help, like why can't I like build something where we can help others with coaching skills and they can come and we can just give this for free for them because there is still a sister program called Physician Support Line, and this is all phone line, and it's started by a psychiatrist where they had this phone line where you can call and talk about anything to a colleague that was bothering you or was, painful or you're upset about. And I used it myself. And I thought, I don't even know what I talked about, but I do remember, a couple of years later thinking like somebody who was a colleague who was drowning in COVID madness because the psychiatrists were getting hit really hard
Mhm.
had the love and the time to do this for a stranger and to really be there present. And then I thought, God, there's so much good in this world. There's just so much hope. And it really planted the seed of hope for me that there's hope, that there's always hope. There's always goodness if we look for it and we, pay attention to it. So I thought, well, like I want to do that for others, but I'm not a psychiatrist. So if I'm becoming a coach, maybe I could do this. So I didn't know how to do it, but I just figured it out. And I got coaches to come on the platform. And so they're all physicians, they're all life coaches. And basically, it's very easy. You go to physiciancoachsupport.com, you look at your time zone, you see what's available in your time zone, and you just click and make an appointment for an hour if you want, up to an hour with a peer, and you can talk about anything confidentially. We don't report to anybody. We are really there just to use those skills as a coach to just help you work through whatever's happening that, is getting you stuck and overwhelmed and sad and fearful so you can get to a better place. So it's different than your pastor and it's different than your best friend and it's different than a therapist because we don't prescribe anything anyway, but we're just really helping look at things, poke holes in your arguments, like put the mirror on your kind of thoughts or you're spiraling down into and
Mhm.
realize maybe there's a different way to look at this because there always is. And that can really help you get out of that overwhelm and that fear and that anger when you look at things a little bit differently. So that's what we're there for. We've been there for 3 years now, and we really are just there to support our colleagues in taking that first step of, like, taking care of yourself, because many come and realize, like, "Oh, wow, I really need a therapist. I don't need coaching. I need a therapist." And that's very true, and sometimes you need both. But you gotta take that first step. And just realizing, just taking that small action of, like, well, going into the site or maybe making the appointment is hopefully a step into people realizing their worth, realizing they matter, realizing they gotta take care of themselves. So if we could do that for people or, like, plant the seed of hope and of goodness, that could hopefully inspire them to take care of themselves.
Absolutely. So, how do you feel? Do you feel like the physicians are that you are encountering, like people are more open to this type of approach? I think that we are all seeing, and I know that I'm just talking to some of my nursing friends post COVID who, like, some had just retired early, to be honest, because it just was too much.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
we lost about 125,000 physicians that left medicine in the last couple of years, and that's on 1,000,000, which is already a huge shortage. So many of us have left and say, we're gone or we're done. Like, this is not worth it. Why are we here? The system is broken. Some of them want to fix it. Some of them just want to leave. There's many things, but we're getting, like you said, nurses, physicians, like leaving. And we have a shortage as it is.
Yeah.
So this is really, people don't think it matters. Oh, just physicians, whatever, my life will go on. But like, when you have to wait 4 months for anything, which I not do as a patient, when you have to really advocate for yourself because errors are being made, it's really scary. I mean, it really is. And I'm a physician, and let me tell you, like the stuff I've seen, if I didn't have all the support people can call, I really could have gone south really fast, really sick, because of errors, because of things. And whether it's incompetence or whether it's burnout, or all of it. I mean, it's real, and it matters when it's your child, your mom, your grandma, or yourself. So, you know, everybody really has to try to figure out what can we do to help physicians, to help medicine, to help the system, because it's gonna take our toll on ourselves, before you know it. And you may not realize all the errors that were done in your care, but they are there. And nobody wants to admit it, but it's real. And so, when was the last time you went to a doctor and they were actually kind? They looked at you in the eyes, they gave enough time for you, all your questions were answered. I think that's not usually the norm, it's just not. So
Mhm.
do better. And so we need to gather everybody together to realize this is really important.
And sometimes when a patient leaves that exam room and they don't feel like they were heard, right? Um,
Absolutely.
it it's not necessarily the fault of the physician, because sometimes the physician knows the number of patients that are coming behind.
Of
They
course.
had like a huge workload before that patient, and I mean, it's just a challenging situation all the way around. The patient deserves to be listened to and heard and understood. But on the flip side, maybe that physician is not receiving the support that they need in order to deliver that care.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not blaming physicians that it's all our fault. No, of course, the system is constraining us to like a conveyor belt system that we just turn people through and we have no say. And then when you start speaking up as a physician, there's real consequences. Like many never want to have that type of care where you don't have the time. But the moment you speak up is the moment you get fired, the moment you get replaced by a non physician, the moment that your bonus is cut. I mean, these are real things that happen all the time to my colleagues, all the time. I mean, I just had my friend on Thursday tell me they were replaced by a nurse practitioner because it's cheaper. And I have people tell me like how they don't get their promotions, and women especially, they speak up and they are placed on probation and they're placed on leave, psychiatric leave, because they say they're struggling. I mean, it's real what happens when you speak up. And I understand when they don't, because physicians also have huge amounts of debt looming over their head, and they have families. And then so if you speak up and you lose your job, like your family settled in the town, of course you can go anywhere, but you have to think about your children and your wife and your husband. So there's real consequences to speaking up. There's real fear because the repercussions are real. And we think it's all lovey lovey, but what we see on the inside, it's really challenging. Again, I understand why they don't, why they can't, because the system is very oppressive. The system is not compassionate. And there's also big, deep pockets of greed, honestly, from insurance and from big pharma and from a lot of things that are really meddling in our ability to take care of patients. It's not just the physicians are bad. Nope, it's like everybody else taking that piece of the pie. We are overworked. We're barely in survival. So how can you even have enough energy to fight? We're in survival mode every single day. We haven't eaten, we haven't peed, we haven't done, anything because we have 50 patients a day. So I
Yeah.
also have passion for my colleagues. It's not easy.
Um, it is not easy at all. And it goes fundamentally, like right out of the gate, as soon as you graduate, you take an oath and you believe that you are taking this oath to care for people. And then that is mixed up into the business of healthcare. And it just doesn't mix, right? It doesn't it doesn't feel good. And I remember being a nurse in ICU and not painting me as a urologist, that that's not a good thing to do. Um, but you are pressured to be to put out a certain level of production. Um, and it's just it just leads to errors, to fatigue, and like you said, burnout. Um, Talk about humanity in medicine. How do we bring it back?
Yeah, well, that's $1 million question, but I think we can. I think we have to start with ourselves. I think it starts with how Gandhi said, be the change you want to be. We always want to say, oh, life is not like this, life is not like that. We don't see this. It has to start with self. You can't want humanity and love in the world if you're not love and humane, like first yourself and then to others. You can't be, there can't be peace if you are at war with yourself and your thoughts and your own body. Like it just doesn't work like that. You have to be what you want to see. And when you start with you, then this energy affects other people of positivity or negativity. But we want the positivity. When you heal, then other people heal. When you help yourself, other people get help because now you know what helped you and you can pass this forward. And it's sort of like lighting that candle. When your candle is lit, you can light it for others all the way around. And it has a ripple effect. So we have to start with ourselves. It's not an outside, job or a thing that has to be done. It's self.
Right. In my work, I use gratitude as a means of growth and healing. And I'm not sure what your experience is with this, but sometimes when I say, growth through gratitude, and we're talking about people in difficult circumstances, and people have a view of gratitude as, a little woo woo, maybe a little surface. And I think that there is a misconception out there, and this is, I speak of it often, that, gratitude doesn't mean that you're in denial about what's tough, right? Using gratitude does not mean that you're not completely realistic about what's happening around you. It's just that you're looking for things that are still there despite what's happening around you. And you're finding those things to be grateful for. Do you have pushback when you talk about gratitude sometimes?
I mean, yay, nay, but gratitude, it's rooted in like every cell of your body. So when you have those thoughts of gratitude, your brain changes, your chemistry changes, your cells change because hormones like serotonin and dopamine, these are the happy hormones. They get released in your body. So that's actually science. There's nothing other than just science about that. And it's also an energy, it's also a frequency, and that's quantum physics. So, people that don't believe in that, well, you don't believe in quantum physics. That's interesting. I mean, that's all these
Yeah.
laws that govern our universe. So
Right?
there's nothing more scientific than that. And these are frequencies and these are hormones that get released and they make changes in your body. So gratitude changes how you feel, not just because it feels good, but because in your body things are happening. So it's sort of like your natural antidepressant and your natural Prozac. You can create that in your body just like you can create that state of illness and stress and disease by being in stress and fear because you will release that stress hormone, the cortisol, all
Yeah.
the ones that increase your sugar, increase your blood pressure. That's what happens at your cell level. That's science. There's nothing woo about it. Like that will happen. So you decide which one you wanna have bathing every single cell of your body. And so it's like, why would you choose the pain? I mean, you can choose that, of course, but actually that is a choice. So we have a choice to think about what we wanna think about. We cannot force it. People have to decide, "This is what I wanna do in my life. This is what I wanna feel or not feel," and we have a choice. And I also it's also like a scientific experiment if you want to be scientific. Like, try it out. And that's a scientific experiment. Try out this hypothesis. Like, can you be in a state of gratitude for 2, 3 weeks and see what happens after? And then you see the results. That is a scientific experiment. Try the hypothesis. Well, is this going to work? I'm going to do the work, see what happens. Those are results. Check it out. So that is scientific. Do it. See the difference. And again, I've seen the difference where I'm consuming the social media, Facebook, and all these inflammatory things all for an hour and how I felt and how my stress got worse, or versus I spend my time, either journaling or writing or, meditating, praying, whatever you want to call it for yourself, that
Yeah.
time to rest, digest, and calm down. Like, how is your day different? How do you start your day? Do you just wake up and like rush out of bed and start working because things are late and you didn't do this and gotta do this and like all your to-do lists and you start, in panic basically? Or do you wake up in gratitude, like, oh, I'm grateful for today. I'm gonna go spend my 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you want to put, and
Mm,
just again pray, meditate, be quiet, breathe, listen to uplifting music, read a text if you're spiritual, like whatever you want to do. Like, there's many flavors. You don't have to be religious. This is not religion.
mm,
My religion is really love. That is my religion. So I'm going to focus and center on that religion of love and gratitude. It's all the same thing, and that will give you a different outcome. So I think when you kind of step back and look at it, and also, I really do talk about like the science behind it for the people that want to see the science. That may be helpful. Some people don't want to know the science, some people do, some people just want to feel it. Many people are so disconnected from their body and their emotions that they don't feel anything. So you can't talk about feelings because they're so hardened. So they want to do a left brain. It's okay. There's a lot of info in the left brain. I can show it to you if you like. But try it out and then you tell me how terrible it is. You can't tell me you hate bananas if you never tried a banana. Like try the
mm.
banana. It's like, try it. And then you can make a whole opinion about it. Then you can tell me it's the worst thing ever, but you have to try it.
That's right. Yeah. Now you mentioned about kind of meditation and breathing. I recently did a session on transformation breath work,
Mhm.
and it was it was so interesting for me. And we had a conversation pre-session about how we hold trauma on a cellular level, we hold it in our bodies. And we talked about how we as humanity are very shallow breathers. We don't breathe deep much throughout the day. And this session, it was an hour and a half. But I had to sit in my car for the 10 minutes after in the parking lot because I was like, what just happened? Because it felt so wonderful to just take that deep breath and kind of center yourself. And I don't think we give ourselves enough time in this world to do that.
Yeah, that's why you have to have that time scheduled. People want to schedule all kinds of things all day, meetings, this, that. No, you have to schedule your time. And that time, at least for me, my practice, like it includes movement, it includes breathing, it includes talking about like your limiting things that you want to get rid of, it includes meditation, it includes movement again. It's time. But you have like you do like keep that trauma and all the styles and the fashion. That's where it's stuck, usually in the hips, especially. We hold on to that trauma
Yeah.
and you gotta breathe it out. The word inspiration and inspire, that's to breathe in spirit. So what are you doing when you breathe in? You're breathing in spirit, okay? And then you gotta exhale all the junk. And so breathing is essential. And yes, when you're in chronic stress, which we all are, we have these little shallow breathings. We never fully use our diaphragm to expand and breathe out all the literal toxins of the body, that CO2 we gotta get rid of, but all the other energetic, all the other psychological things are stuck in our body. We've gotta move. And these are some of the principles of yoga. And I'm not talking what we think about in the West is, the poses. That's called the asanas, like the movement. But yoga means a lot of things more than what we think about in the West. And yoga means a union or yoke, like uniting. So,
Yeah.
but the asanas, the postures that we think about, you're using your breath and movement to really get to a different state. That's what you're doing. You're breathing and doing a pose to move all this energy from this place that is stuck out of your body. And so that's really important. Again, you don't have to do yoga. You can do whatever you want. You can do Tai Chi also. You can do Qigong. You can do whatever. But
Mhm.
practices that have been around for thousands of years. There's a reason. We sort of have this ego thing like, oh, we're the best. We know everything. It's been 100 years since we discovered, like antibiotics, people. Like it's like it hasn't been that long that we are changing the world. These practices have been around for so long for a reason, and they have lasted because there's wisdom and they work. And so if you want to embrace it, great. If you don't, that's fine. But you got to do something. If you don't want to do your qigong, that's okay. But you got to do something because
Yeah.
again, where we are today is in chronic stress and anger and reactivity and hate. And that's not a normal state of being.
It's not. Okay, so I want to jump into something that is a little off topic of what we're chatting about now. because I was chatting with my niece, Giselle. I'm going to shout out to her because she's fabulous. And she's a physical therapist and she specializes in pelvic floor health for women. And, many women are face incontinence, and it's a topic that, women are afraid to discuss. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, what do you think is the biggest issue that women face with pelvic floor issues in the long term? Because that is, again, it goes back to a stressful situation when women remove themselves from social situations or opportunities because they feel such anxiety about bladder control. And I'm just wondering if what you could say about that to better educate us about prevention and care for pelvic floor issues and what you see in your practice.
Yeah, well, thank you for small teachers out because physical therapists are amazing. They're like God's angels. They really
Yeah.
do the work, and not just only in the pelvic floors. Kind of encompasses a lot of things. Yes, we can talk about leakage and control of urine, but there's also the other part where things are really, really tight, and they have like pelvic floor dysfunction, and that's again where we're holding that stress and the trauma and the pain. And I see it all the time because I really do psychourology all day. I really address the psychological, the trauma components that then manifest in symptoms. So we can see, for example, when there's stress and there's worry or there's been trauma or there was trauma that got triggered, this urological symptoms will also be triggered, and that's frequency and urgency to pee. You have to go a lot, right away. Then you have pain, pelvic pain, bladder pain, and men it could also be like hesitancy to pee, and it's like kind of strained. Yes, that could also be prostate issues, but it manifests the same way, and that's really from all the stress and worry. Our pelvic floor is like a hammock of muscles. It really is. It's a hammock. You to fold up bladder or prostate. And when it gets tense, it gets really tight. Just like we type a lot and our shoulders get tight and then we kind of need like a massage. Well, the same thing will happen there, but it's internal that you're never gonna massage it and you're never gonna be able to feel it per se. But
Yeah.
it will manifest in symptoms. And, if we don't address the stress, it's not gonna get better. If we don't find ways to name it to tame it, like you have to call it what it is and what happened so they can connect. They're like, oh, this event happened and then now I'm manifesting all these symptoms. Many, many times I'll ask a patient, they told me, "Oh, it started 2 years ago," and I was like, "Okay, so, like, did anything happen, like, 2 years ago, a little before, something at work, something in family?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, my business is failing and, we've been struggling, and then, my kids moved into our house," and, they tell me all the things, and I'm like, "Well, do you think it could be related?" And like, "Yeah, maybe it's been so much stress." So, they have to, like, associate and realize there was a connection because the if you don't name it, you can't fix it. You gotta put in the light. So once you put in the light, that's some awareness. But then you have to work on ways to get rid of this stuff that's stuck there. And that could be physical therapists. They're gonna help you lengthen, stretch, do exercise to release it. And manually, physically, there's also many vibratory tools we can use to literally massage internally to release that energy that is stuck. Warm baths with salt. I mean, there's many things we can do, but that is exactly manifested from stress and worry. Now that also can make it work because that cures stress and anxiety itself because there's pain and nobody can figure out what's wrong with you. Well, what's wrong with your stress? And that nobody knew that than it was, until they see me after 5 doctors. The other part that you mentioned is the other part, that now things are a little bit looser. So we don't have the support. Many times in women, because of age, because of weight, because of vaginal deliveries, but not always, but especially the more you have, the more things stretch out and the connection kind of rips, and then you're not supporting your urethra and you're gonna leak. So it's very, very common. I want to tell women that's very common. You don't have to suffer in silence. It's not just part of aging. Yes, it's more common with aging, but there's so much we can do to try to help you. At least just acknowledging it's happening and somebody to tell you it's okay. And then there wasn't one treatment. We have so many treatments, medicines, therapy, physical therapy, surgeries, procedures that can really help your quality of life. So don't suffer in silence, don't feel shame because, this is very common. And so if you're not getting the help for your primary, go see a urologist. I mean, that's what we do all day. We are happy to help. There is so much better quality of life you can have. And I have patients that exactly like you said, they don't go out with their friends. They don't travel anymore because they don't want to be leaking or they're afraid. Can they find a bathroom? And then we help them, like they go outside, they go hang out with their grandkids. I mean, their life really changes. Their depression goes away because they were just so, sad because they were lonely and they were not being social. So when we can change that and not give you antidepressants for something that doesn't need that, the source was we just gotta get your urine better, then you really can truly help people in different ways without adding so many other things that you didn't need.
It is so beautiful to hear you talk about kind of seeing the patient, in such a holistic way that they don't just show up with one issue, that it's tied to a whole bunch of stuff. It's never isolated to one
Oh,
thing.
absolutely. I mean, I had my patient last week have did surgery on him a couple of years ago for his large prostate, and they came for a follow up, and I saw him. I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? Like he was so thin, his belly was big. I'm like, what's going on? And we spent the whole appointment talking about his liver issues and what's been happening and how they can't get appointments and how they have to drain him 5 liters one day of fluid that built up and, like, everything that happened, and that has nothing, let's say, to do with me. That's
Yeah.
how, physicians think about it, but it has everything to do with it because that's my patient that is suffering, and I need to know what's going on, and they need to vent and tell me, like, their frustration, and I'm trying to help them, like, "Well, maybe we have to get a second opinion here, and maybe I can send you somewhere else," it has nothing to do with urology, but it really does. It's my patient, and they're suffering, and, like, they've changed from what I saw, and really the last minute was like, "Okay, you're peeing okay, your flow is good? Yes, yes, okay, great." Like that was like the last minute of what we talked about, and the whole, you know, got even my 15 minutes got extended to more because I wanted to talk to them, to really understand what's happening to them. What is their concerns? The wife is stressed, she's worried. I'm trying to help her. She's not the patient, but it matters. It's all like how am I taking care of the whole unit, not just the patient. And so if I can give support to the wife who is worried about her loved one, that's really my job to try to be a healer and a teacher. And that's a role of a physician is to heal and to teach. And then the rest is all the gravy on top. I can give you meds, I can do surgery, but my primary role is really to teach you, to explain to you what's happening, to tell you about your anatomy, to tell you about why this medication does what it does or it doesn't. And then you know what it does. Like my patients know what the medicines are for. Like nobody comes in saying, I don't know what this is for. Like everybody knows and what the side effects are and what can happen and what to take it and what to do. So they all know. And I spend a lot of time teaching. And then the rest is like healing. And most of my healing is listening to people. It really is just letting them tell me what is bothering them, hearing their fears, addressing their fear. And then the rest, like they actually get better. Like I don't do that much stuff as a doer surgeon. I'm not doing stuff. I'm just listening to people. And that is so powerful and underrated and underutilized powerful tool.
Mhm. I mean, it's a human nature for us just to want to be heard.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, without judgment. And it sounds like that's how you approach it here. It's so beautiful. I want to ask, so primarily I work with the bereaved community and I'm a bereaved parent myself. Um, I'm gonna ask you your positions because you deal with, um, at times you deal with death and loss, with your patients and their families. And it comes to you, it's not necessarily like a personal family member or friend, but it affects you. You're only human. And I can still, from, my nursing days in emergency, I still remember basics. They stick with me 25 years later. And so for physicians and with your support network that you've created, um, how do you deal with the grief that, because not everybody can be there?
Yeah, I feel it. That's how I deal with it. I don't suppress it. I mean, I remember all my patients have died. I mean, I remember Miami when my first patients that died when I was attending. I mean, he died from infection, nothing I had to do anything with. But Mr. Gruber, I mean, I love that man. I saw him every month to change his catheter. And when I called his daughter to say I'm sorry. I mean, I was crying more than her at that moment in time. I mean, she had already known about a few days, but she was asking me, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm gonna take me a minute." Like I was just so, saddened by his loss because he was my patient, and
Mhm.
I really, you know, and even maybe 3 months ago, my other patient died. I did this really, really minor procedure, like so minor, on her under anesthesia, and then she then had a complication and had a stroke, and then died, and you know, like of course, I mean, I was the last person to touch her, so it's gonna be my complication, but there was so much beauty and being there with the family and like letting the daughter feel it's okay to put her in comfort care and like she didn't have to feel guilty. And I mean, I was in the room without the family for like an hour and a half, like just crying in the room because it's my patient. And not I wasn't crying because I had a complication. I was crying because like that's my patient and that's the family that is gonna lose a loved one. And that's just part of life. We have to accept that death is part of it. And this is a beautiful thing. And we resist it, we would fight it and like, oh, we gotta do everything. Like, no, sometimes like doing is letting go. Doing is like stopping the suffering and the poking, the prodding. And there's so much strength in that of letting people just let go because she could have done a lot of stuff. And I just said, it's okay. Like your mom wanted it to be this way, and your mom didn't want to die at home. She actually wanted to die in the hospital. So that's what she wanted. We got to honor that. And it would have been very difficult to die at home just due to the resources. So she passed and she transitioned in the hospital. Her family was there. Her grandkids came, so it was just the way she wanted. And I have other patients that wanted to die at home, and that was honored. And she said, I don't want this treatment. I don't want the treatment. Stop doing that. And I said, okay, we're going to stop all that. We're going to take out your catheters. We're going to take this out. The initial went to the hospital because they didn't know what was wrong. But once they realized, she'd had a terminal stroke, they sent her home and she died at peace, interstitial peace at home. And we gotta honor people how they wanna live and how they wanna die. And I see a lot of people have so much guilt and fear, the family members trying to do so much and trying to hold on, and that actually doesn't help people when they transition. It helps them to let go, to just trust and to sometimes do less, because it's inevitable. Like, of course, we don't want people to leave. I get that, but they actually truly never leave. If you kind of look at it from a spiritual way, like our life in Earth is not our whole life. It's eternal. So when you hopefully think of it that way, then realize like they're always with you. Something I learned actually talking about death, like my one of my meditation teachers, she lost her daughter, at birth, and she was a physician. So she lost her daughter at birth, and she always says, like, the thing I learned out of all of this, with all this pain, was like that love, doesn't start and end in like birth or death. Like it continues. So she loved her daughter before she was born, and then when she was not here, she still loves her. She's still with her. She still feels her presence. And that's the thing when people transition out of this earthly physical world, they are still with us. We feel them. We think about them. I mean, that's real. And that's quantum physics too, but it's real. So these are difficult times, but I think it's we as physicians, as people that are not physicians, we kind of feel the feelings. It's painful. It is difficult. There's grief, there's loss, there's a lot of stuff. But there's also joy. Again, there's joy that they're not suffering. There's joy of remembering all the things that you experience with them. That never goes away. You can always sit in your grief and remember the good stuff. And you can cry and laugh at the same time. I mean, you're a little teary, but like you can do both. And you can even laugh about it. I mean, not at the situation, but like it's like we sometimes have to break the pattern in like these really difficult situations and like laugh and remember the good stuff. And it really should be a celebration of life when you transition. We celebrate their life, how much joy they brought us, how the lessons they taught us that never go away. You always remember those lessons, that time, the thing they did for you. They taught you how to ride the bike or whatever it was. They taught you how to bake that cake. That never leaves you. So cherish that, and just let go. I think is really important too, letting go.
I love what you're saying about just kind of normalizing that we all pass. we all will go, to the other side, but we're all still human. And I totally agree with you on that. I have great conversations with all my loved ones on the other side all the time, especially when I'm in the yard. But my sister, she passed away a few years ago. She fought a hard battle with cancer for a number of years. And I'll say she had a draw. Cancer did not win with that woman. She's the strongest woman I know. But when she was in the palliative stages of her life, we sang, we laughed, we told jokes, and that was part of it. But she was the one who set the tone for her passing. And I'm still to this day, years later, I still think about it, like how she showed us grace. She gave us grace. She showed us how to do it. And I mean, it didn't make the pain any less, but it gave us a feeling of such peace. And I think that we can all learn from that. The old ego coach like that with. Um, so for physicians and patients, there's a lot of patients who'll be listening to. How can we support physicians these days? As patients, we know that we show up, we want you to take care of us. Well, what can we do for you?
Yeah, well, beautiful. I mean, I think kindness goes a long way both sides, and I think sometimes just acknowledging, like asking your physician, like, how are you today? How are you? Or, just saying something kind or appreciate you. I mean, like, that's such a small word, but it's not. Like, when patients just say, I appreciate you, it's like, oh, thank you. Like, like I'm trying my best. And, yeah, we have like 1,000 patients. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a little late, but like that appreciation goes a long way. Um, or like, when I like, even when I was sick, I mean, I was very sick. I was gone for a week, which is crazy, unheard of, but like my patients gave me grace. I'm saying like, I was not able to take care of you. Like some things got dropped. I'm really sorry. I know you had to wait or do this, but like I really was unable to take care of you. And they give you grace. And, that is just so heartwarming, when they do. Just acknowledging our humanity and acknowledging that we get sick and that we are tired and that, we have feelings, we're not robots. So I think when you acknowledge just that, that can just go such a long way, just saying like, I thank you, appreciate you, how are you today, doc? Like, or like, I'm not saying you have to bring gifts, but like little things can go a long way where we just feel appreciated. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, just words could be great. And then I think that's just the first thing, just being kind. And then it can ripple into other things. But there's many ways people can advocate for physicians. There's laws that you can look into, or like Lauren and Breen is a big organization that is trying to really change a lot of things and support for physicians. So you can always like Google it, or go there, Lauren Breen, and how to talk to your congressmen or people in politics to really find ways of organizations that are trying to make the situation better for us. Because again, there's many oppressive things from our licensing standpoint, from things that we have to disclose, or like barriers for us to get help. Because there's a lot of stigma for us to get help for many reasons, and fear of loss of our jobs and things like that. So it's not only the stigma that everybody has about mental health, but there's a stigma that because we disclose, we will lose, our jobs. Which is again is very real. It definitely happens. People when they do speak up, either because of injustice, because of like whistleblowing, or because of our mental health, we get shut down really fast. And that is unfortunate, but it's real. So again, if you can find those ways to support us, just kindness, again, that goes a long way. And we do truly appreciate it. So that would be my way. Just be kind.
Just be kind.
Yeah.
Um, I have a global gratitude group called Just One Little Thing, and I started that group when I was kind of in the depths of real darkness and grief. And it's called Just One Little Thing because we made an agreement as a family that we would look for gratitude. It was something, a whisper in my ear from wisdom around me that I needed to use gratitude, not to deny the loss, but to use gratitude for what remained to get through it. And so each day at one point or another at dinner usually, my son and my husband and I would say what she wanted to think for today. Because to be honest, we were at a stage in our life where it was really hard to find one little thing. And so that's what this group has grown. This has been 15 years now doing this. And so I usually every day I'll say, okay, so today I'm thankful for, the changing leaves in the south. I love the changing seasons. And um, so today I'm thankful for learning so much from you, truly. And for your work is so important. To take care of each other as physicians. I just think that's remarkable. So I am thankful for the changing leaves, for my great tea that I had before our call, and I am thankful for you. So what is your one little thing?
No, I have so many. I can't one, but yes, I mean today's the first day of fall, which is so beautiful, right? It's fall, like, and I was thinking about like just falling. Like, are you falling? Are you letting go? I mean, autumn is a different word for it, of course, but I was thinking about the meaning of fall and the first day of fall and the first day of changes and the seasons. Um, and I am not a fan of the fall winter seasons, but I am embracing them because I have a colleague that loves him and he's so joyful. And I was like, I'm going to hold on to your joy. I'm gonna do it. So I am grateful for him because every day he puts something about them and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so I'm grateful for him because of these seasons and these changes. I also had a great tea. I had my time in the morning to have quiet time after I was very sick and I was really unable to. So it was just so filling my soul to have that time. And I went to my friend's house yesterday and I spent time with her daughter, their birthday, and all these things were so just beautiful. And actually, my friend, her daughter's birthday is today, and that was the same day that her mom passed away. It was the same day, and that is such a again that juxtaposition of pain and pleasure and loss and grief along, and it's all mixed together. So I think it's kind of fitting that in this day, which is her birthday and the day that her mother passed, we're having this podcast as well because it shows us that we're not alone. Our story is pretty universal. We all have been through many things and we're never alone. So we got to realize like we're not alone. We have a community. We can build a community if you don't have one. We can be grateful and start looking for all the things that are good despite the sadness, despite the grief. And that is really important. It's not just one little thing, it's so many things because when you start with that one little thing, you realize the more you're grateful for one thing, the more things you find to be grateful for. So it's a ripple effect. But starting with the one little thing is really important because then you're going to find like all the things. So I agree. Start with that one thing, and then you'll see the beautiful, beautiful growth that will happen in that.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. So before we kind of close out, I want you to tell our listeners how they can connect with you, how they can find your work, and anything else you want to share with us before we go.
Yeah, but so the main thing is again, realize you matter, realize you're worthy, realize like your worth is inside and your love and your joy and you're not all the other stuff, anger, sadness, division, your love and light. That's really important. And that you matter. And you gotta take care of yourself first, especially for women out there listening. Please take care of yourself first. It's not selfish, it's not narcissistic, it is essential. So that's number one. And yeah, if you want to connect with me, I live in LinkedIn usually. So go to LinkedIn, Diana Londoño MD, and there you can also just find me on my website, which is my name, Diana Londono, Londono, imd.com. That's another way, but I'm in most of social media platforms except X. But just look for me. I'm there and Google me, and I'm love to connect. I can talk about this stuff for hours. I'm really passionate about all this because this matters to all of us, not just wellness for physicians, but how we take care of ourselves, how we realize our worth, how we can be kind, how we can do little things that have great ripple effects for the world. But we have to start with ourselves first.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I so appreciate it. And for our listeners, please check out Diana's amazing work. And I also want you, the next time you have an appointment with your physician, say thank you. So, and ask them how they're doing today. I think that's important as well. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.